Peace and blessings. Pray that everyone is doing well. Pray that everyone is staying safe and sane out here. Wherever you are, continue to press on, continue to dig deep within yourself to bring about that dream, that aim that you desire to accomplish. It's definitely possible. This morning, I want to speak about another situation that I saw, that I was witness to, not directly, another guy that was raped in prison. And the reason I'm speaking about this one is because I saw the results of its effect. The guy I spoke about previously, I spoke to him after he was forced to give a guy oral sex. He went through a lot. He went through a lot, moving to different parts, trying to escape a lot of that. But after the guy that I spoke on, the youngin from Richmond that was at the time a leader of his gang, took youngin under his wing, man. He really protected the youngin for no reason. Youngin didn't have money, so he wasn't being used. Youngin didn't have to do anything for the gang, just that the dude didn't like what was going on, and he stepped in, and I can appreciate that. And I know the youngin appreciated that more than he really understood. But this particular guy, I remember it because it was a lot more vivid. The feelings, you could see them being exhibited by this guy, man. You could tell he was messed up because of it. And I'm speaking about it because in a video that's coming up, if not before this one, after, I speak about PTSD, and I read the definition of it. And some of the guys and women coming home from these prison facilities, they have endured a lot. Not just, physical assault, nothing like that. I know guys that just fought every day, like honest, got into fights, and they didn't start off being fighters. They didn't start off bothering people. It's just that they were forced to defend themselves for whatever reason. Guys trying to rob them, guys running up in their cells and things like that. So, they developed a toughness. They developed a hardness that wasn't really in them at first. And so they came home like that, or they lived through their time like that. Some have, eventually mellowed out. Some had eventually became better, calmer, and were able to grow into who they desired to be. But I know some guys that, they had it hard. They had it hard. I know guys that lost families. I know one guy, from Richmond, man, it was a fire, and 4 children were in there. One was 18. The youngest was, I believe, around maybe 2 years old. The others were, I believe, 10 and maybe 12. 3 of these children were this guy's children, and they burned, and they wouldn't let him go to the funeral because he didn't have the same last name. But he had plenty of pictures in the visitor room. He had plenty of letters to prove it. He just did not have the same last name of the children. They did not let him go to the funerals. And I saw that. I know guys that lost their mothers, their fathers, children, siblings, and they had to sit in themselves. And again, they committed crimes to put them in there. So I'm not saying sympathize with, guys or ladies so much so that we forget the crimes that was committed by these people. However, what I am saying is that there's a lot that goes on behind those bars, and the feelings that come with being behind those bars, with us. They live with us, and sometimes they have dictated how people act and behave out here. But that applies to people out here too, and I'm not gonna, deny that or ignore that. You have people that grew up in the projects and they're cold, because the environment is cold. They're hard because the environment is hard. You have women who, have been molested, that have been raped, by strangers and family members, and their lives have been dictated by this. They're shy, or they're promiscuous, they're pained, they're mistrustful. They don't like long relationships. They don't like short relationships. They don't like being in relationships because of what has happened to them. You have women that have been bullied because they're either light-skinned or dark-skinned, or they are a bit heavier or a bit skinnier. I've seen it. I've seen girls that were slim and get mocked because they're slim. I've seen girls because they were a little heavier, they get mocked because they're heavier. And so you grow up with a hardened heart. You grow up defensive. You grow up, agitated and angry and pained. And the same with guys. Guys want to go from home to school, do your schoolwork, come home. You got to walk through 3, 4, 5 neighborhoods. You got to deal with what's in your own neighborhood. Then you have to deal with 5, 6, 7 other neighborhoods before you get to school. And so you become a hustler. You become a fighter. You become a shooter. You become a fool. Or you tolerate what you're forced to endure, and you get out of that environment. You use it as fuel to push you. And wish that I was that. Wish that I had used the environment to fuel my growth. Nah, I got caught up in the environment. So these things, PTSD is real for everyone. Inside of the prison and jail system, and outside as well. And so we have to begin by healing. But again, allow me to speak on this situation. I remember I was on C Unit in Greensville. I used to hear this young guy. He was always rapping, but he wasn't really rapping. It didn't rhyme. He was like just mad. It was like, F my mother, F my sister, I can't stand him, I hate my homies. And like literally, this is what I remember him saying. I don't recall the rhyme in it, except him saying F everybody. And I watched it for a couple of days. I would come from Child, he was in the pod. So I would come from Child, go to Child. I would be on the top tier sometime. I would just, observe. And I noticed he had some like beat up shoes. I think they were Nikes, maybe. They might have been New Balance, but they were kind of beat up. So that, you kind of, get a sense of he didn't really have family support. Then he had a state jacket, and everyone did for the most part. Some guys could afford their own like jean jackets. At the time, guys could get jean jackets and clothes from other vendors. But if you didn't, you get the state jacket, and some of them were just brand new and they looked all right. But this youngest was real raggedy. It kind of hung to one side. It was like real faded, real raggedy. And the word Fifth Ward was written on the back by his own penmanship. And it was like kind of, the 5 was big, the TH was like up here, the word Ward is like he didn't take his time, lining it up or anything. He had a beat up skull cap that kind of just, hung loosely on his head. And I remember he was kind of light skinned, had like acne on his face. I remember him well. And I used to just watch him and I was like, what's wrong with this young man, So one day he was walking to the TV, and the Greensville pods, for those that know Greensville Correctional Center in Virginia, they're pretty large. And so at the end of one side is 4 bleachers. And this was back then. It has changed since a little bit, but there were 3 bleachers, I believe 3 or 4 bleachers, and they were like 10 feet long, and they were in front of the television. The television was mounted on the wall, and it was about 10 feet high, so you couldn't get up and use your bare hands to touch. You had to use the broomstick. And so, Youngin, I saw him go over there. Mind you, I'm on the top tier, so I saw Youngin go over there. And, I ain't really, paying much attention because no one's in front of the TV. So he looks around, that's common to do, that's courtesy. You look around, make sure no one's watching it. So he takes the broomstick and changes the TV. What he didn't know was these 2 older guys, and they had been down since like 79, 80. And one of them had a reputation for stabbing people. He had developed this reputation back at a place called The Wall in Richmond, Virginia. And so him and his buddy was sitting up under the stairwell. And like I said, the TV's probably from the stairwell in the middle of the pod, maybe 40 yards away. So Youngin didn't see nobody in, right there in the bleachers looking at TV. So he changed the channel. But the 2 older guys, they were under the stairwell sitting on these paint buckets. That's what they did. They painted. So one of the old heads, I heard him say, and I didn't see him initially because, like I said, I'm on the top tier. They're kind of under the tier, under the steps. So all I heard was one of them say, "Hey, youngin, I was watching that." And I believe what he was watching was, I believe it was either Ricky Lake on. I believe it was on Ricky Lake, 'cause it was almost count time. And I think it was almost Ricky Lake or something. That's what I believe the old head was watching. It was either that or the youngin turned to Ricky Lake. I just remember seeing Ricky Lake on TV. So, I looked under the tier to see who was talking. Then I knew, okay, and there was a slight beating, faster beat to my heart, because I kind of know, the old head, and I know what's about to happen. So the youngin looked back and didn't pay it no mind. Like, he looked, like, shrugged his shoulders, left the TV like that. But he began to walk up the stairs, and he kept that broomstick in his hand. So when he walking up the stairs, he get to, like, he's on the same tier, and he lived on the bottom floor. He lived on the floor. He didn't live on the tier that I was on, the top tier. But he came up on the tier, and I believe he kind of was just trying to get away, per se, maybe, ignore the old guy. But so when he came on the tier, he's probably like about 40 feet from me now. So the old head come from under the tier and look over. The youngin said, "Man, didn't I just tell you, man, I was watching that, man? Turn that back." So the youngin say, "Man, wasn't nobody watching it. Wasn't nobody watching it. I don't care." So I'm looking at the youngin like, in my mind, to be honest with you, I'm like, man, you don't know who you talking to, right? So, so the old head said, "Man, if you don't turn that back, man, I'm going to deal with you, man." So he's saying it a lot more aggressively than that. So the youngin take the broomstick and hit the top rail. Bam! "I don't care," and just start spazzing. "I don't care." Hit it again. Bam! So the whole pod now is looking like it's a big pod. So everybody, dudes sitting at the tables and chairs, dudes turning around looking at the youngin. So everybody. So the CO, it's kind of, that's the first thing when you see something going on, you first look toward the situation, then you look at the booth to see if the police are watching, because what you don't want is things to draw the officers in, because again, like I said a while back, lockdown was real. If it get too serious, you're going to go in them cells and you might not come back out that day or the next day or the next day. So guys are always trying to keep situations, if possible. They would say, if you fighting, man, go in the cell, or man, hide, you know what I mean? Like hide, hide up under the stairwells, like, because no one wants the officers to run in there and lock anybody down, because again, we in the cells too much. So, so youngin just hitting the top tier. Bam, I don't care what you say, I don't care. There wasn't nobody watching. So the old head just like, all right, Dad. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, all right. Poke a hole in you. And I remember hearing him say that, so the other older brother that was with this guy, he kind of grabbed his arm like, "Come on, I see him, because they kind of close under, where I'm standing. They're like probably about 10 feet away. So I hear the other old guy like, come on, man, pay that stuff no mind. So, whatever. He pulled him back towards where they were sitting under the stairs. So I hear the other older guy, I hear him, talking like, "Man, youngin don't know, da. So blessedly, the other older brother stopped his man, the one that was kind of known for stabbing people. So he calmed him down. So I watched youngin for like, he walking on the top tee. He didn't come close to where I was, but he just walked back and forth. And you could see he was scared, but he was agitated. And so I watched him, and I'm looking, because like I said, in the next day or two, you'll know how serious, that was taken, because usually guys don't let stuff go too long when they feel disrespected, not those that had done time for a while, because that's how they made their mark. So, youngin, it's wise of him to either keep his eyes on this old head and stay away from the kitchen or blind spots, because that's how guys will catch you. They'll catch you coming up that stairwell and you don't see them, hiding behind the door. You don't see them hiding in the shower. You don't see them, standing in someone's cell. I saw a guy hiding in another man's cell, waiting for the guy to come in the pod just so he can run up on him and beat him up. So you have to keep your eyes open, So youngin, after about a day, the old head didn't do nothing. And on the second day after that, I talked to youngin. And like I said, I watched him a lot. Even during that time, you could tell he was agitated. And so a couple guys, they had actually known him. They didn't really, put his business out there. They were saying, "Man, youngin, wow, youngin always into something, da. So I just walked up to him one day and I was like, "Man, you all right? what's up with your soldier? You know, and I was kind of, called him that. I didn't think he was a soldier, and it was rare that guys from DC call any and everybody soldier, but I kind of used that term to kind of, give him a little bit, give him a little respect and, get him to drop his guard. So I said, man, what's up with your soldier? You all right? Yeah, I'm good. But you can see he was a little standoffish, but a lot of guys that know him, I was always keeping my shirt buttoned up and creased. He knew I was in the Nation of Islam. So I was like, man, what's up with you, man? Where you from? So he was like, Roanoke, I'm like, okay. He said, you from there? I was like, nah, I'm from DC, man, I said, man, that situation the other day, man, y'all good, you know what I'm saying? Old head, man, he good dude, man, He was watching the joint, probably see, said, yeah, I look, man, I ain't seen nobody looking at the joint. He ain't had to say it like that, though, So he kind of still feeling, a bit, bothered by it. So as the tale went on, we talked for a while, but I'll speed it up. He was in for murder. He had 2 life sentences. I don't think he did it. His sister had been dating a white guy, actually in Roanoke, and I believe because the guy was well-to-do that he told his, friends about it, and they concocted a plan to rob the guy. Suffice it to say, the sister wasn't there, but they robbed the guy and he wound up dead. The co-defendants of this guy told on him. So, I just didn't see it in him, to be honest with you. But he might have. I'll be honest with you. He might have. But he was emphatic with his innocence. He was like, nah, I ain't do it, man. I ain't do it. They told him, man. They told him, they put it on me. I ain't do it, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's crazy because they was my guys. You know what I'm saying? We hung together every day. We smoked weed every day. I'm just watching them. And I'm watching them. And so we get to talking. I'm like, yeah, so you stay in touch, with your people? And they be like, nah, my mom don't write me. She wrote me a couple of times. My sister don't write me. Nobody write me. I don't care. I don't deal with nobody. I'm good, though. That's why I'm all right by myself. I'm all right by myself. So then I asked, because a lot of times you want to get people on a spiritual path. I was never the type to just twist people's arm and tell them join the Nation of Islam or come to our class. I believed it was plenty good in our class, plenty good in our service and our walk. But I've seen wonderful Orthodox Muslims. I've seen wonderful Christians. I've seen wonderful Hebrew Israelites. I've seen wonderful Moore Science Temple of America brothers, man. I really have, thorough individuals, man, good-hearted, sincere, dedicated to what they say they believe. And so I would be, me personally, I would be, quick to say, join some spiritual walk. And so I asked him, you go to any religious programs or whatever? He said, man, I don't really believe in God, So I said, yeah, why? You don't believe in God? Why? I ain't really ever heard no black person say that, They was like, man, there's so much going on. People dying every day, man. God don't care. If God don't care, God don't care. So I said, well, it's a large, universe, and God cares if we just pay attention, So I give him my spiel as best I can on, the proof of God's existence as best I can. And then he gave me a little more. He said, if there was a God, why would he let somebody try to rape me? And right then something clicked. Why he's so angry. Why he walk around cussing. Why he walk around fighting. And mind you, he wasn't a fighter. And probably lost a lot more than he actually thought he won. But I could see why there was pain in him. I could see why there was hurt. And it wasn't just his case. And so, I talked to him for a little while long. And I'm like, man, sometimes, things happen, man. I said, man, women getting raped, man. Kids are dying out here, man. Old ladies walking across the street getting shot by accident. There's stuff going on. And it's not that God doesn't care. It's just that he gave the human free will. And we got so far away from his structure. We got so far away from his laws that the consequences of that is what we see. Obesity is a consequence of us disobeying God. All this violence is a consequence of us not living in accordance with God's law. And I'm not talking about us just as black people. I'm talking about the world. We really live by the 10 Commandments. This would be a beautiful place. I'm certain of it, But, people see following God as boring, not exciting, too strict, So we continue to do what we do until those consequences fall in our lap. And then we reach for the Most High. But, so we walked a little bit and I talked a little more. And, for a few days we talked. And I believe I had asked a couple of guys, you know, because they saw me talking to them. So a couple of them, I saw you talking to youngin. I'm like, yeah. They're like, man, old boy was about to poke holes. I'm like, yeah, I know, you know, but his man caught him. His man calmed him down. Boom. So we talking, and I asked another guy that was actually actually pulled up on me. He was like, man, youngin ain't no bad dude, man, but you know, such and such got him. And so when he told me who got him, you know, who raped him, I know that, again, youngin said, why would God let somebody try to rape me? But he was on another unit. This was season. He was on A unit. For those that know Greensville back in, like, you know, 94, 5, 3 and all that back, A unit was real wild. It was wide open, lots of fights, lots of stabbings daily. I'm talking about daily. It was all the hook. They had brought some dogs, Rottweilers, and people used, you know, people exaggerate the size of dogs, but these were very large Rottweilers. I'm talking about extremely large, probably one of the biggest I've ever seen, and it was quiet. I never heard it bark. It was just a quiet, big Rottweiler. But they used to have dogs on the yard when we came out to go to chow. We didn't go to rec at the time. When we walked to the chow hall and walked back, we had 2 Rottweilers escort us. So, you know, guy was like, yeah, man, such and such got him, man. You know, he was in the cell with, man, dude busted him up, man. And when he say busted him up, I mean, he was in the cell with a guy that beat him up and, you know, raped him. And so youngin, you know, checked out, you know, that particular pod and off that unit and came to our unit. And so a couple of days later, you know, after I spoke to him, I noticed I hadn't seen him anymore. And I don't know why, you know, maybe he checked off of the compound. I honestly never saw him anymore in my entire bit. And I had asked a couple of guys about him. But I saw the pain, you know, with the youngin. I saw the results of PTSD. I saw it in him more than the other guy. And, you know, even as I reflect on it, I think about those who've endured that. I've known guys who endured stabbings, and they were, you know, they didn't bother nobody. Just guys run up in the cell trying to steal something, and they try to defend their TV, they try to defend their cosmetics, and they sit up in there and they fight and they get stabbed and they're left on their bunk, you know, holding the wound, you know, and I've seen them come out of there. You know, some guys didn't make it. And so when we talk about PTSD and we talk about trauma, we talk about the pain that people on the inside as well as the outside are suffering. We need to talk about solutions. But I say these stories, I tell these tales because I want people to realize that everything that's going on inside is not being revealed except through TV shows and movies. And some of these movies depict prison life well. I haven't seen Oz, but I have seen Master P's movie, Lockdown. That was a good depiction. There was reality in that, extreme reality. The movie Shawshank Redemption, good movie. Blood In, Blood Out, American Me, all genuine depictions, all real. You know, just those are actors and they go home after the movie. And so what we feel at that moment in the movie theater or sitting in the house, like, oh, that hurt, oh, the star got stabbed, oh, he got raped, oh, I feel it, nah, and then we forget about it 30 minutes later because we're watching another TV show, a commercial, listening to something. Nah, people that live that life, man, women, and children, they still feel it. They still think about it. They still live it. And so again, I apologize for being long-winded, but these are some serious tales. And so all I'm saying is, you know, again, if you know people who've come out of there, you know, not everybody was raped. Believe me, that's a small portion, but everybody suffered something. And for those of us that know people out here that have suffered, you know, rape, assault, or just lived a traumatic life, consider that when we're dealing with one another. Let us consider that, because everybody wears a brave face. Everybody wears a strong face, but there's a lot of pain beneath the surface. What's the old saying, still waters run deep. So if we consider one another a little more, with a little more respect, a little more courtesy, a little more understanding, then we could probably deal better with one another and even the strangers that we come across who may not act right, who may not act sanely all the time. So with that said, I thank you all again. I was a bit long-winded. Again, I apologize. I pray that I didn't bore you all. I pray you all continue to walk with me down this journey. Continue to stay with me. You know, sometimes I'm a bit tired because I get up at 4 in the morning and I don't always sleep, you know, like I should. I go to sleep sometime around 11 or 12. So I don't get as much sleep as I'd like. And that's just because, you know, I'm a night owl. But, you know, I thank you all for hanging in here with me. Continue to like and share, continue to subscribe and share these videos with people, man. And, you know, continue to share your comments. I appreciate it all. I take them sincerely. People have asked me to speak on a few other things, and I will do that. I will do that, and I promise you. Please have a good day. If you've suffered, if you are suffering, know that you're not alone, and know that the Most High can take care of everything if you just trust him and trust your instinct, trust your gut, trust your nature. You know, just do a little better, be a little better, and things will, you know, be a little better. I believe that. Thank you all. Have a good day, and I appreciate you.